whole event, today's event now is open in Kazakhstan-Canada Business Council, the fourth meeting, and our section today is devoted to transportation and aerospace working group. And we are very much thankful to our sponsors, Kazakhstan Prom and Chemical, who are supporting this event. Then, of course, I will show a few members of just this chapter of Montreal and Ottawa to also say thank you to all of them for supporting economic relations between Canada and Eurasian countries. And in that, we have translators. So those of you who don't speak English very well or need some help, you see in Russian, please switch. There is an option, interpretation. Дорогие участники, уважаемые участники, у нас работают переводчики. Пожалуйста, используйте функцию, если Zoom работает на английском interpretation, возможно, на русском это будет переводчик или перевод. Выберите язык, который вам нужен, и наслаждайтесь мероприятием. Спасибо. Yana, please.
Good morning, and I guess good evening to those who are overseas in Kazakhstan. So my name is Yana Lukasheh, and I'm Manager of Government Affairs for Bombardier. Thank you very much for joining the Kazakhstan-Canada Business Council Transportation and Aerospace Working Group. Today is going to be an important conversation about the industry of mobility, and more specifically, how our two countries can seek synergies and opportunities to further create value. I welcome all the distinguished guests today and thank specifically Marina and CERBA team, actually the whole team, for bringing us all around the table together. Now, before I continue discussing my company, Bombardier, that I work for, I would like to introduce my co-chair, Amanat Umbetbayev. He is Head of International Relations Division for the Aerospace Committee of the Ministry of Digital Development, Innovation, and Aerospace Industry of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Now, Amanat has served as an officer of the prosecutor's office in 2012 after completing a bachelor's degree in finance from the Kazakhstan Institute of Management, Economics, and Strategic Research. And then he went to pursue a bachelor's degree in law in the University of Tehran, Astana, and worked in the private sector of investments. And in 2017, he became chief expert in International Relations Department of the Ministry of Defense and Aerospace.
Thank you very much, Yana, for introducing me.
I turn it to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, dear colleagues, distinguished guests. First of all, I will just say hello because for someone is evening, for someone is right now is morning. So just I am telling hello for you. First of all, I would like to thank you, CERBA, for kind organization of this group session, and thank you very much for inviting me as a co-chair of this event. So as you know, we have gradual cooperation with Canada in aerospace industry. So I think the work is done by CERBA helps us to develop our cooperation further and keep in touch with our colleagues. So I hope that in the frame of such kind of events, we will support and develop our work. So I wish everybody good will and successful work. It's honor to me to present to you our co-chair, Ms. Yana Lukasheh. So she is currently manager of government affairs at Bombardier's corporate office, responsible for developing and supporting the company's external activities, focusing on providing public policy and strategic stakeholder outreach advice. As a driven public affairs and government relations professional of over 13 years, Yana garnered and fostered relationships throughout various levels of governments and community stakeholders. She advised mayors and ministers in both Quebec and Ontario, as well as various senators in Canada's upper chamber. Yana is a graduate of Concordia University with bachelor's degree in political science. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very kind, Amanat, of you for those introductions. I'll be very brief, but I did want to have the opportunity to discuss Bombardier. And most of you already know Bombardier is a global company with a presence in both rail and aerospace. And we are currently underway with a transformation whereby we exited the commercial aviation market and we are closing the transaction with Alstom for the sale of our rail division. As a business jet standalone company, we are very confident to continue creating value and growth. And though our transformation and exit from commercial aviation, I can nevertheless say that our products remain present in Kazakhstan through Kazakh Air and CCAT Airlines, both operating former Bombardier products, the Q400 turboprop and the regional CRJ200 jet. Now, as we move forward in business aviation alone, we see great potential and areas of growth, and as we continue to be a leader in Kazakhstan. There are, of course, business jet customers in Kazakhstan currently, and we see an interest to grow. I note that certification will be an important area for us and our future customers, and we'll definitely have the occasion to discuss those a little later in our working groups. You know, there are evidently local challenges as well. We are, however, encouraged by the recent partnership of both the Civil Aviation Committee and the Aviation Administration to help foster the local industry address the problems that currently exist. And there's headway that has been made with the International Aviation Safety Assessment, the FAA Category 1. It will undoubtedly provide strength to the country's Civil Aviation Authority as it will soon be compliant with the International Civil Aviation Organization standards, opening pathways, positioned, and connectivity for international growth. And I'm certain we'll hear more from our guests later on this morning and this evening. It's, you know, it goes without saying that the pandemic has had very serious implications on aviation in general, but various industries across many sectors. But aviation particularly has been crippled by restrictions and plummeting airline travels. We do, however, see some encouraging signs in business jet travel with a surge in preference of travel through this means. Now, colleagues, it goes without saying that Kazakhstan provides for many upcoming opportunities. As the population growth is estimated to grow to 80 million and 60% GDP growth by 2017, it has potential to double the growth rates of air traffic. And albeit these are pre-pandemic figures, they remain relevant nevertheless. As the largest country and economy in Central Asia, strategically placed for becoming a mobility hub, we are encouraged to hear the objectives of the president that aim at diversifying and continue the implementation of the 68th step of the 100 concrete steps. Now, without further ado, my co-chair and I would like to welcome Grigory Savva, Associate Director of Infrastructure, Eurasia of the EBRD, to provide us with more details on the transportation market outlook and underscore opportunities of collaboration. Grigor, I would like to welcome you to your remarks.
Thank you, Yana, and hello everybody once again. Здравствуйте, коллеги. Bonjour à tous. Thank you, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to speak at your event. I'm new to the platform, but I already feel the friendly and warm atmosphere. So I'm very happy to be here. As Yana said, I'm an associate director with EBRD. I cover transport and healthcare infrastructure in Kazakhstan. Can you all see the presentation now? Okay, good. So maybe for those few of you who are not familiar with our institution, with the EBRD, we are a multilateral development bank. Kazakhstan and Canada are our esteemed shareholders, and we sign on average around 300 to 450 projects every year for the amount of around 10 billion euro. And Kazakhstan is a big country for us. It has been ranking in the top 10 for a number of years. Last year we signed 685 million euro worth of projects. So definitely Kazakhstan has been and will remain a priority market for the EBRD. In terms of financing, we finance all modes of transport, with only exception of coal. But since the event is mostly about the aviation, maybe I run quickly through our investments in the aviation sector, which admittedly is not a long list, but we have supported Air Astana with the development of a maintenance facility in 2014. We provided a long-term loan to Air Astana. We had a short business engagement with the airport of Astana, and we are just about to close a very large transaction involving acquisition of the Almaty airport by TAV Airports. Moving on, as a development institution, we have to make sure each of our projects addresses our mandate and strategic orientations that we have for transport sector in Kazakhstan. These are all set out on the slide that you see. But I think the major, if there's one thing everybody's obsessed at the moment, is green, and for what that means for the aviation sector is basically the sustainable clean fuels. We do understand that this is probably a remote kind of perspective at the moment. We follow closely the developments in sustainable aviation fuel space, zero carbon flights, specifically the Jet Zero Council, the initiative run by the UK government. But at the moment, we still understand this remains quite a remote perspective. In terms of transition, the bottlenecks for our investments in Kazakhstan, there are a few. I'll just list quickly the ones that are really relevant for the aviation sector. I think quite a few issues. The big one being the user charges. As you may know, you're involved in the airport infrastructure business. The airport charges for domestic flights in Kazakhstan have not been reviewed for the last 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. And out of social considerations, which is, of course, affordability is always an important consideration for us as well. But the flip side is that it creates economic distortions because airport infrastructure operators need to recover the losses they make on domestic flights through fuel charges, fuel markups, and additional charges to international passengers. So that creates, as I said, economic distortions, and it also affects the competitiveness of Almaty, just Kazakhstan's airports on the international scene. They're basically value offering for transit flights, for example. The other thing, I think, is the dominance of state-owned entities, or the dominance of public sector in running of the airports, which for obvious reasons creates uneven playing field, because state-owned entities, government-owned entities enjoy certain privileges. They sometimes get soft loans, they get subsidies, they get all sorts of support, and this, of course, distorts the competition. And maybe underdeveloped O&M, I think, is also an issue. If you probably traveled across Kazakhstan, you could observe the state of airport infrastructure, especially in the regions. There is a big underinvestment in O&M operations and maintenance. I'd like to keep my presentation short. Maybe just one thing to add is the impact of COVID, the pandemic, on how we look at the aviation sector in general. I think other than the commercial implications of the reduced traffic, I think the other hot topic for discussion is basically the stranded asset risk, because we know, of course, that the footprint that the carbon footprint that the aviation sector leaves is very big. As I said, there are developments towards sustainable fuels, hydrogen, electric aircrafts, but this remains a remote kind of thing. And also, there are different points of view, but how quickly will the business travel recover, if it recovers fully at all? I think it's a big question. We all are sitting on a Zoom call at the moment instead of sitting in a nice conference room somewhere in Ottawa or Nur Sultan. So I think we'll see that the impact on business aviation business traffic is long term. So that basically makes the stranded asset alarm bell go off in our heads. I don't think it's really a big factor at the moment, but I think this is a discussion we'll be having in the next couple of years. So I think I'll stop here. You have my contacts on the screen. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay for much longer after my presentation. I have some family duties to attend to, but please do get in touch if you'd like to discuss anything with me. I'm really open. You have my cell numbers here on the screen, and I'll be happy to speak to you. Thank you very much. I'll just stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you very much, Grigory, for your presentation. You know, you raised some very obvious challenges that would indeed need to be addressed in order for the aerospace industry, but other industries as well, to propel. And you touched on another important element, sustainable aviation. You know, the industry worldwide is heading towards that direction, and it will play a large role in recovery post-pandemic. So I think this is a point that we can discuss and flush out some ideas a bit further on. Unfortunately, we won't have you on, but we could share some of that feedback and seek your advice. Perhaps I would like to pass a bit the poll to anybody who has questions for Grigory. And in case not, then, you know, Grigory, you mentioned aerospace, but there's also the industry of transportation, which is an important one as well. And I would like to ask, you know, some additional speakers if they have any comments or any notes, albeit we are, you know, maybe 5 minutes into before our next speaker comes on, but nevertheless an opportunity to share your thoughts. Just to introduce Adylbek to everyone, he is head of the Department of the Implementation of State of Policy in the field of civil aviation, Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development. So Adylbek, I will give you now.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, on behalf of the Civil Aviation Committee, we'd like to express our gratitude for welcoming us on this meeting. We are very happy to be here. And just for some clarifications, what we've been doing as the Civil Aviation Committee, I would just like to add that yes, indeed, we have the number of strategic programs that are related to the civil aviation field, such as you mentioned before. We're talking about the 100 concrete steps program and the 68, particularly the 68th step of this program. As you all know, Kazakhstan, since the independence for about almost 30 years, we've got some major developments in the civil aviation field, and right now we are working on the improving of our regulation of the civil aviation, and as a result, the 68th step was dedicated to building the new model of the civil aviation. And right now we have our, as you mentioned also before, we have our Aviation Administration of Kazakhstan, which is operating starting from the last year. So yes, that's been one of our major developments in recent years. So regarding the other plans that we have, we also working closely with our airports. Of course, we have some plans on improving the transit potential that we have in our country, especially our biggest airports like the Nursultan Nazarbayev Airport. Anyone has some questions? Yeah, we're ready to discuss. So yes, if you have any questions, please.
Perhaps if as the crowd contemplates some questions, we can also ask Saltanat to say a few words. So Deputy Head of the Civil Aviation Committee, Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development, if you're online and you want to say a few words, we welcome your input.
Dear participants of the meeting, on behalf of the Civil Aviation Committee of Kazakhstan, let me express our gratitude for participation in this meeting. My name is Saltanat Tompiyeva. I am a Deputy Chairman of the Civil Aviation Committee of the Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development of Kazakhstan. It's a great pleasure to participate and discuss the opportunities for collaboration between Kazakhstan and Canada. Our committee is an authorized in the field of civil aviation, and we carry out regulatory implementation and control functions, as well as participation in the performance of the strategic function of the ministry in the field of civil aviation. And our committee is working consistently to bring the civil aviation industry in line with the international ICAO standards. As part of this work, in accordance with, as my colleague Adylbek said, we have the plan of the nation, 100 concrete steps declared by first president of Kazakhstan. And we have created the Aviation Administration of Kazakhstan as a civil aviation regulator. And it performs its duties based on the model of UK CAA. Such approach is brand new, not only for Kazakhstan, but for the CIS countries as well. Aviation Administration is carrying out activities aimed at ensuring sustainable development of the civil aviation industry of the Republic of Kazakhstan, flight safety and aviation security, in order to achieve a level of compliance with the requirements of the ICAO of more than 80%. Overall, since the Kazakhstan civil aviation industry has undergone major positive change since the country's independence, during this period of time, Kazakhstan modernized 80 runways and 30 passenger terminals in Kazakhstan airports. Last month, we have built one new airport named Turkestan, And the first flight we plan on 2nd of December. So today, 17 Kazakhstan airports are compliant with ICAO standard. Before the spread of COVID-19, the industry experienced stable growth in passenger traffic in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan had a lot of direct flight connection with the world's biggest financial centers. So, and also over the past 3 years, Kazakh and foreign air carriers have opened a lot of new routes. Last year, Kazakhstan established firstly open sky regime at 11 airports. And this regime removes all restrictions regarding the number of flights for airlines and establishes the fifth freedom right for foreign airlines on directions where Kazakh carriers do not operate.
We have the occasion to speak in more details a bit later on, but looking at the time and again, having the opportunity to allow my co-chair to speak now, Amanat, about more specifically the aerospace industry, and again, delving into, well, providing a general overview, but delving into the development of space in Kazakhstan. So Amanat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Yana, for your floor, and thank you, colleagues. Yeah, it was very interesting, actually, presentation before. So let me share my screen. Brief presentation. So about the overview about the aerospace activity right now, which is going on in Kazakhstan, and what we have news, things, because I know that you have already maybe some kind of information on it, but I decided to make some little presentation. Thank you. So, okay, where is it? Okay, right. Okay, if as I said, our current situation in aerospace is, so as you know, we have 2 communication satellite system on 3 Earth remote sensing system and 1 biggest Baikonur in the world, but it's right now it's rented leased by the Russia until 2015, and we have also scientific, technical, and human resources. So, so it's a little bit changing is a little bit difficult for me. Right, it's not working. Okay, so let's move to our communication system. It is, as I said before, we have 2 communication system. Communication system KazSat, which covers all the territory of Kazakhstan, and also Central Asia and the south side of the Russia, and we are actually covering all the need of Kazakhstan and satellite TV broadcasting and communication and internet services. Also provision of remote cellular base stations and providing some communications to the law enforcement authorities or for the emergency mode. Right now we have a great project, which is the KazSat 2R. This is the replacement for the old KazSat 2 communication satellite. So we are planning to launch it in 2023, I think. Right now there's some system of making some concourse. So space system of remote sensing, we have 3 satellites, and two of them are medium resolution and 1 is a high resolution system. So as this year we began to work on the digitalization of our land resources. So with the help of these satellites, we covered already a lot of lands and a lot of discovered also a lot of unused lands which were not used right now. My colleagues will detailedly explain about them in the second part, so I will not get into the details of them. So also we have right now Competence Center for Geospatial Data Analysis. This is a very good work which is made by KGS, and Actually, all the data from the Earth remote sensing satellites are sampled here, and they're building some kind of geo services. So we are, as I said, we are working right now on digitalization of the map of our agricultural lands, which is very helpful right now for giving some technical specifications for our state bodies and making some governmental tasks, which is, as you know, the agriculture sector is one of the important section of the economy of each country. So these competence centers is right now give us a lot of results, and thanks to them we are working on the unused lands, and we performing together with the governmental authorities and also law enforcement authorities the big tasks. And this is our satellite. It's a KAZ-ST-SAT. This is one of the first satellites where our own techniques were sampling some satellite platforms, optical payloads, and so some onboard computer and ground station. And it was launched in 2018 from the United States with the Dragon, and it has so 17.5 resolution. And right now we are getting some good information from there. I mean, it's scientific technical information, and it works well. So I'm just moving from slide to slide because I don't want to take time of all of other. In the second part, I think we will get the detailed information, and our specialists can also comment on them. So we have also the high precision satellite navigation system, which is right now very helpful by verifying some lands, and also the monitoring the transport system and other differential stations. Also, we have some pilot productions which is already made here. So, and we have just finished the construction of our ATC center. Here we can build up to 6 ton, I mean, assembly and test. And right now we have 3 stages of the work of this center. So first is the design of the spacecraft, and after we are planning the production of spacecraft components, and of course the spacecraft assessment and testing. Right now they are working on some orders of some biggest companies like Airbus, OneWeb. They are making some parts, I mean the cable products, electronics, and some metal elements. And we have also our replacement satellites we are planning to make here, to assemble here. So, and also as you know, Baikonur is one of the biggest, I mean, the biggest cosmodrome in the world. And in order to involve ourselves there in the launching system, we have right now 2 projects. One project is a trilateral project with Kazakhstan, Russia, and UAE. It's a joint venture project, and it will right now we are working on the agreement session and etc. And we are estimating the first launch in 2023 from here with the Soyuz 2 modernized version. And also the second project is the bilateral project with Russian Federation. It is Bayterer code. So here is the also modernized version of Soyuz. It's Soyuz 6. Also the very good launch pad actually, and it's also planned in 2023 first launch. So I see prospective cooperation. This is the main part of my presentation. So first of all, I think that we have to realize the articles of signed MOU, which was signed 2018 thanks to CERBA. It was also the session, I think. And also, I think that we have to I mean, exchange with some experiences in the field of scientific space research, because scientific session is very important in each direction. Also, we could maybe show some cooperation on using the possibility of ATC center which is in Nur Sultan. Maybe we could make some cooperation. We will speak on it in the second session. Also, the Earth remote sensing is very important. Maybe the commercialization of it. We could find some kind of points of cooperation. Also very important, I would like to to ask about the MTCR issues. It's a missile technical control regime. Right now, Kazakhstan is working very active in order to enter to this regime. So maybe thanks to CERBA, we will get some kind of support of Canadian colleagues of Canadian Space Agency. Maybe in next session, we could have some chance that Canada will give some voice for us during the election. Thank you very much. This is my presentation. So I tried to be short.
You did a great job, Amanat, and thank you very much for your remarks. You know, Kazakhstan seems to have made some good headway into the development of the space community. And I definitely appreciate the perspectives that you shared on cooperation. You know, we have subject matter experts online and companies that will undoubtedly have many more questions for you on upcoming projects. And so we will leave the second session in your hands as it delves a little bit deeper.
Thank you also, Yana, for your work. It's also very hard work, and I wish you also good luck in the second session. I hope we will meet us in the main session after, right? So thank you very much. Thank you, Marina, also. I will try my best in the second session.
I have said it better myself. My Russian is a little rusty, but I will be more than happy to discuss with anybody that wants to coach me to bring it back to par. But it's for another time, perhaps. Our next speaker, Andrew Petrou, is Director of Strategic Initiatives and External Relations at Centennial College, and he's also former Executive Director of the Downsview Aerospace Innovation and Research Consortia, located in Toronto, Ontario. Now, I've had the pleasure of working with Andrew for many years, and I value his expertise in the aerospace ecosystem and in academia. His insights on what makes a successful cluster are most appropriate for these discussions. Andrew, without further ado, I ask you to come up and show us your face and camera and provide your remarks, please.
Well, thank you, Yana, and good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everybody. It's an honor to be here, and the conversations are looking to be robust. I won't keep it long because I have so much information I would love to share, but to give you a little bit of the focal point in history of just how we came about, is Canada's got a long history in aerospace and space. And particularly where we are located, which is in Toronto, the biggest population for Canada, we were not as organized on our activities as our, I'll call it our brothers and sisters in Quebec. They showed the way of how to work together on three levels: government, industry, and academic. And knowing your expertise to work together. Where we are blessed is we were led by an incredible company, Bombardier, to say, look, we play a big role, but we're not the only role. We have other important people that are part of this ecosystem, and everyone must do their part, but we must communicate and work together. And the birth of the Downsview Aerospace Innovation Research Consortium was founded by Centennial, the University of Toronto, Institute for Aerospace Studies, and Centennial College. But it has grown and it has brought together some key activities and expertise. So the focus that we have seen is the emergence of landing gear expertise, which then has moved towards the evolution of that. As far as space, that was fascinating. MDA, obviously, as you know, is very big in Canada and plays a big role along with other companies. But when it came down to the college's importance is the training. And we needed to get that expertise more readily available for industry and working together, creating a state-of-the-art facility. We went from only 400 students that we were able to take to now over 1,200. And our programs have expanded from the standard by Transport Canada in aerospace maintenance and avionics, which is highly skilled, highly sought after, and other industries have got to be careful, to aerospace manufacturing, working closely with industry for their needs so that we can produce that, and then collaborating with our other academic partners for laddering and career growth into university and master's and PhD programs. And this has allowed us to really flourish and foster that piece. So for us, I mean, DAIR has a website. I will happily share all that information, and the location is actually in the middle of the Greater Toronto area. But we look forward to the day where we can have you come to us and take a tour and have a conversation, and we look forward to coming to you. So I hope, I'm happy to take questions on different programs, different needs, and I can't stress enough, having the state-of-the-art equipment is critical. We, at our old facility, had equipment that museums wanted. We now have equipment that industry wants, and so that has kept us leading edge and moving forward. So I thank you, Yana, and we look forward to continuing this dialogue and finding solutions and collaboration.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, Andrew, for your remarks. And you touched on a very important element, and I think one that we will pick your brain more during the breakout session, and it's training and skills and education. And I think those are critical elements for any country who wants to instill an aerospace cluster, but also grow that aerospace cluster and instill upon future aerospace workers this very valuable field. And I can attest to what you said. I mean, Centennial has been a very strong training partner of choice for Bombardier. And we've been quite successful in just the very past few years in developing excellent partnerships together, but not just amongst ourselves, but as well as the different companies and academic institutions within the cluster. So we look forward to continuing that growth together. Colleagues, unless there's any questions, I'm mindful of the time, and this does bring the more formal part of today's event to a close. We will now break into our individual sessions, one on space and one on aerospace. I mean, if I can summarize just a few takeaways from the different presentations that I've heard, is that, Kazakhstan is at a precipice right now where, albeit the pandemic, but has been valuing aerospace and space industries and looking towards how to improve, how to develop, and seeking best practices and collaborations with other jurisdictions around the world who have some shared experiences to give. And so, areas of skills and training that Andrew was just mentioning, space cooperation and development is another one. I point out research and development on innovation and technologies that will allow the aerospace industry to propel towards decarbonization, towards sustainability in aviation. These are, very critical and important subjects for any aerospace industry, and space, I add that as well. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Gilles, our chairman of CERBA National Board, to say some closing comments before the breakout session.
So we have over 70 participants, and hence I was trying to make sure I would recognize the faces of everybody, but that's, as they say, impossible. There are a few old friends and a lot of new faces, actually. So of course, thank you very much for all the participants so far. We're going to get into a more specialized discussion shortly, but I would like to say that I think, to me, this was fulfilled the expectations, in the sense that, of course, the landscape has been affected, of course, by the pandemic, and of course the situation has changed dramatically, but I think I can sense a certain optimism and dynamism in this process. So I think, we've had what I think is a very useful discussion in terms of reacquainting ourselves with the state of the situation in our fields of interest here, space, aerospace, and sort of aviation. So I think in that respect, that was extremely useful. To us at CERBA here, I think what we like to think is that as the Zoom meetings have replaced the real meetings, our challenge is to make sure that, you know, of course, right now, in a normal process, we would be sitting down over a glass of wine, perhaps, or a cup of coffee to continue the discussion. So the point that I wanted to make, especially in this context, is that what we need to do, and of course it's not so simple, is to follow up on these conversations so that we can sort of turn them into action. You know, we used to say, of course, trade development takes a lot of time, and now, of course, we've lost some of the tools that we used to have these direct conversations, if you want, that we would have after a big meeting, for instance, those that generate the real business. So in that respect, what I would like to say is that we at CERBA are looking at the possibility of supporting your conversations as you go along to follow up on today's discussion. I think this is to us, this is the most important thing, is that we have a better understanding of what's going on right now in the world, but now we would like to turn to to how we can make plans for more direct and more active cooperation, and in some cases, of course, to reactivate the cooperation. So my suggestion here is to say, look at CERBA, we're sort of interested and willing to sort of support that follow-up work, which is crucial to the success of our cooperation. So that's basically the message that I want to leave with you. Thank you very much to our co-chairs, and continuation in the work today.
I just wanted to thank you all for, your team. It was best, it was the good in the short time. So thank you, Yana, for moderating. It's very good, very nice, very active. It's actually only the second time for as a moderator, so it was a little bit interesting for me, a new experience. So thank you very much.
Well, absolutely. Thanks to CERBA goes without a doubt. You guys have been very instrumental in putting all these people together and all these companies. And Amanat, it was my first experience, so thank you for co-chairing with me. I know that I have had great notes. I've taken vigorous notes during the breakout session, and I look forward to providing a summary of the comments that I've heard. I think there's going to be some very interesting linkages. Again, notwithstanding the pandemic that's going on, that is slowing the process for certain things, but it doesn't have to slow the process of creating conversations and dialogue between the two countries, and specifically through the different businesses. So I look forward to providing some of that information to CERBA, and hopefully it's the first conversation of many more.
Yana, thank you to Bombardier. We extend our gratitude for being our member. Those events wouldn't be possible without you. This is a great example how companies support relationships and help, move our ideas and projects ahead and forward. And again, thank you very much to Nathan and to everybody.